Hey, loves, welcome back. Today we are talking about your capacity. And I'm really excited to talk about this topic because being a psychotherapist, I get a lot of people in consultations and they will say, I'm stressed or I think I'm depressed. I think I'm struggling with anxiety, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't know. And they don't know because they're still at work, they're still parenting, they're still cooking, cleaning, right? They're still doing all the things. And so I wanted to talk about how we can know what our capacity really is for life in general and our mental health capacity. I think it's kind of intertwined a lot of times. And if no one talks about it, then we just go about life thinking, well, I can handle this. I can handle this for each thing that comes and threatens our sanity, threatens our stability, threatens our ability to continue to take care of things in life. Okay. So I wanted to give you an example first, and this will be a shorter episode. You haven't heard from me in a while. Life is still busy, but this has been on my mind. So I really wanted to come talk about it. When we talk about strength training and increasing your weights, let's say you're a person who goes to the gym, how do you know when you need to increase your weights? Well, you're consistently doing however many reps you had set for yourself. You're consistently doing them without issue. You're consistently doing them with good form. And maybe your muscles are like, I can handle a little more. And if you're in the gym, like I am a few times a week, I used to be way more consistent before we moved. But if you are used to moving your body in that way and adding on weights and strengthening your body, then you know what that feels like. It's like, oh, that was a little too easy. So you add on more weights. It's different though when it comes to your mental and emotional health, because when I think about pop culture, people will say, I'm depressed. However, I am depressed in a way that I can keep moving forward. Or what's the term? There's a term for it where people talk about being functionally depressed, or people talk about having a different type of depression where they can still keep moving. Can they really? Just because you can, it doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean you should put your body through the fight that is depression. And when I speak about it, if you're new to this podcast, you may hear it and say, oh, she thinks she knows because she's a therapist. No, sweetheart, I know because I'm a therapist who's been depressed before. I was depressed in undergraduate, all throughout. I was depressed in my early 20s. I've also struggled with anxiety. I've also struggled with obsessive compulsive disorder. So I know what it's like to battle mental illness on a daily basis. I know what it's like to be stuck at home and running late for work every single shift because my brain is telling me to do things, or I'm stuck in my head because of my obsessions and compulsions that are related to obsessive compulsive disorder. I don't have that issue now, but I'm sharing with you that I know what it's like to be so anxious that I am fighting off a panic attack. And dang it, it happened anyways because I felt it building up and I had to pull over. So I'm even more late for work, right? I know what it's like to be really sad in college and to have grades struggle and consistently decrease and have professors talking to you about whether or not you're going to pass the class, and you getting to the point where you think, well, what's the minimum grade I need to pass this class? Because at this point, all I can see is meeting the minimum in this grade, this class, in my personal relationships, in any intimate relationship, the minimum at church. What do y'all want me to do on the weekend? I don't have the capacity for it, right? So I I speak from experience. I share these examples with you not for you to say, dang, she's been through a lot, which I have, and I've overcome a lot. I share it with you so that you know I've been in it too. I've been in the ring when it comes to mental health struggles. I'm out of the ring. I've been out of the ring for years. And so it's not just the degree that qualifies me to talk to you about this topic. I always want people to know I have a lived experience and I'm willing to share that lived experience if it will help someone else. Okay. So back to the topic at hand. When we talk about your capacity, you may be what you call functionally depressed. The DSM-5 doesn't call it functional depression. It's mild, moderate, or severe depression, right? Back when I got depressed, it was definitely moderate to severe if you think about failing out of college. And so you may still be pushing through because you have things to do, people to take care of, including yourself. Even if you're single, you're still taking care of things for yourself. And maybe you're a single person who cares for family members who are ill or who are on a fixed income or who have special needs. And you're like, I have to be the supplement for this person. So when you think about your capacity, well, you've expanded it over the years, right? It's increased not because you wanted it to, but because you had to have it increase because too much is weighing on you surviving, too much weighs on you going to work, too much weighs on your income. So you fake it till you make it. You fake it to the end of your shift, and at the end of the day, you have breakdowns, you're tearful, you're very hopeless. You maybe have stopped going out to hang out with family and friends because now you're isolating. Maybe you've gained, 10% of your body weight. Maybe you've lost 10% of your body weight. I'm talking about some of those descriptors that tell us this could be some major depressive disorder. Maybe your movements are different. We talk about how the movements are really slow during depression, and that's because you don't have the energy to move any faster. Maybe your thoughts are very negative consistently throughout work and even after, but you push through it because you got to pay bills, right? No one's going to let you rent that apartment for free. No bank is going to let you stay in that home mortgage free. So you push through it, but you've hit your capacity. And if any of this describes you, I want you to know that it's okay to raise your hand and say, I have hit my max capacity, but I'm overriding it. This isn't about good form. This isn't about I've done the reps of life so many times that I know what it feels like. I can just keep going. At this point, you can't add on any more weight. And I really hope that if you're listening and you're struggling with some of those symptoms I mentioned that relate to major depressive disorder, that you realize it's only so long before you start to drop the weights. And maybe you already are. Maybe you think you're functionally depressed, but when it comes to your year-end interview or review, rather, you're not doing so well. You used to exceed expectations, and now you're just meeting, or maybe now you're below meeting expectations. You've been holding on by a thread. So, how do you know when you've hit your max capacity when it comes to your mental health? You just know. You feel it. Things start to fall apart, right? You have some of those symptoms I've mentioned. And what I need to be clear because I don't want you to listen to this and think, oh, she's going to tell me I need to quit my job. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to add on some help. Okay. So when you think about being in the gym, if you are, I guess you wouldn't necessarily see this with strength training, but weightlifting. Our local YMCA had a weightlifting class for women, and I didn't get to sign up. Maybe I'll sign up in the next one, but they teach you about good form. They teach you about the starting weight and how you add incrementally, how you add more weight. And there's an instructor there that's holding that weight for you. So when you think about mental and emotional challenges and your capacity, you being at your max, who holds the weight then? Well, no one's going to come and do your job for you. No one's going to come and clean your apartment if you're depressed and you get home from being so functional, having on your mask, and your apartment's not clean. You just don't have the energy to do it. And you're eating a lot of microwave meals. No judgment to anyone who eats microwave meals. I still occasionally eat the Amy's brand of microwave meals because it's easy, and maybe it's a night I don't want to cook and I just grab it from the grocery store freezer section. So no judgment, whatever you're eating, whatever you're doing, as long as you're nurturing your body in some way and getting your water intake. Who holds it though? Who's going to fill in that gap? 9 times out of 10, you haven't even told your family and friends you're struggling. This is when you seek a consultation with a mental health provider, with a psychiatric medication prescriber, so that you can get diagnosed, so that you can potentially get on medication that can help aid you, take some of the edge off, bring it down a notch so you can practice some skills, so you can actually function better, so you can actually be in that body that's fighting through depression without having to fight so much. And you deserve that. You deserve to give yourself some aids. Again, no one's going to do it for you, but if you go to the right providers, they will work with you and sometimes, collaborate and work with one another to make sure side effects are being reported. They're getting a status update. They're collaborating, those providers, to make sure they're taking the best care of you possible so that you can go to work and one day not have to put the mask on before you get out of the car, hiding that functional depression that you may refer to it as. But you're like, okay, starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm seeing the light again in general. I'm tidying up more in my home. I'm not feeling so hopeless. I reached out to those friends and told them I've been struggling for the last 6 months. I've been pushing through it, and that's why I've been MIA and I'm ready to get together. I hope that there's still space for me in this friend group, and maybe you start working on what you're eating. So now you're no longer losing or gaining weight because you're just evening out, you're leveling out things, and you're starting to feed your body again to nourish and strengthen yourself. Maybe you start going to the gym again because working out physically helps with your mental health. It's so helpful for my own anxiety. So really hope you give yourself that gift this year. You're starting to change. You're starting to recognize that what once was a capacity limit became a time for self reflection, a time for reality to set in. Like, if I keep going like this, at some point I will drop everything and maybe I will lose my job. Maybe I will lose my family because I'm burrowing myself underneath a blanket every day. and at work I'm wearing a mask. You don't need to. We all wear some sort of mask. So I'm specifically talking about the mental health mask. I can remember going to work full time and putting on a certain mask to embody that professional that they were looking to see walking through the door. So that's not what I'm talking about. We all pretend, okay? You pretend to want to be there even when you want a new job, okay? I get it. I get it. But I'm really talking about you not having to pretend to be happy. You not having to pretend to be okay when you're not. You not having to pretend to want to be at the holiday party and maybe you got some cookies at the store, but you used to really enjoy baking homemade cookies. When I worked in Boulder, Colorado at the bursar's office at the university, there was this one woman and she made these homemade cookies. And no matter how challenging that job got at times for me, because I wanted to be doing something different, which now I'm in my purpose now as a psychotherapist, right? And as a professional speaker. I just used to love the days where she would bring her homemade cookies. It felt like home inside that office, and we would grab some warm cookies, get some milk or get something to drink and sit at our desk. And all of a sudden, I no longer felt like I was at work. It just felt like I was hanging out with, work family or friends. These people became friends, right? At that time. So maybe you're the person who used to bring the homemade cookies and you stopped bringing them. But it really brought you joy to get in your home kitchen and bake those cookies for everyone and personalize little notes with them. Once you get that depression taken care of or that anxiety, whatever you're going through, then you can get back to the version of you that used to do that. And maybe you're creating a new version too, and that's okay. But this episode is all about knowing when you've hit your max capacity. How do you know what it is? Well, sometimes you won't know. You really need to look at what's going on with yourself. Look at your symptoms. Look at how you're interacting with people. Look at how people are interacting with you, the feedback you're getting. Pay attention to the people who are saying, girl, you've been missing. Where have you been? You okay? Pay attention to that. Pay attention to how many times you check out at work or in your personal relationships or even just with yourself. Pay attention to how many times you leave work and or you just walk out of a grocery store and you get in your car and you're like, I don't have to be around people anymore. If that wasn't you before, of something's going on. Okay. You've hit your max capacity, but you override it because you have too many responsibilities. The responsibilities are very high. I get it. We all have to live and take care of ourselves financially. You deserve to do those things with more ease, though. So I hope this episode inspired you to meet with a mental health professional. Certainly, if you're looking for a psychotherapist, check out findmytherapist.us. That's our sponsor for this episode. And that's also the directory I own. Look how that works. Check out a therapist, though. Reach out. Most of us offer free consultations. If you're looking for a medication prescriber, I know some amazing ones who are licensed in a variety of states. So feel free to hit me up and ask for recommendations. Make sure you let me know what state you're in because each state has a board that monitors professionals in the mental health and medical fields. So psychiatry is medical, mental health is non-medical counseling, okay? When you're talking about psychotherapy. So yeah, that's today's episode. I also would like to invite you to go to my website to check out my speaker page and submit a request. Maybe you're having a holiday event and you want someone to speak about managing their mental health during the holidays or managing their mental health in the new year. Any aspect of that, I'm happy to chat with you about your company's culture and company's needs, or maybe your women's group, maybe your church's culture or needs around mental health. Happy to come up and support. So enjoy yourselves and happy holidays, love. The Anxiety and Free podcast is sponsored by Find My Therapist, connecting you with therapists at findmytherapist.us. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need it. Tune in next week for more conversations on navigating mental health and finding your freedom.